Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Samantha Melvin, and I am trying my best to stay calm, remove any anxiety that's been going on because, well, I'm basically locked in for the most part. But today we did get to go to the grocery store, and I picked up some of my, some nice little items. Like there was a ton of Oreos, like of different kinds for sale, and I, of course, had to go for the carrot cake Oreo because that's just a comfort food for me that rarely comes around these days. And I also got myself a candle that is advertised for specific calmness. So we'll see how that works out. But I hope you guys are finding ways to stay as calm and anxiety-free as you can. And, well, why don't we just cut the edge for how we're feeling today and talk about some pets? Oh, well, let me be clear, pet mascots. I did talk about the Cadbury Bunny contest a while ago, and they just recently announced their winner, so I'm very excited to talk about that. And, of course, we're going to be talking about the Taco Bell Chihuahua, because, well, why not? It's been a while since anyone's talked about him, I guess. And then the Target dog, and the Bush's Beans dog, and then another one called Wego that I have actually never heard of. So we're going to learn a ton today. So let's get to talking about the Cadbury Easter egg competition winner. And, well, why not? His name was Lieutenant Dan, not the cute little cat that I was vying for, and that was Egbert. Egbert has a great future ahead of him, by the way. But I was very disappointed about this, but just to test you guys, how do you think Lieutenant Dan got his name? And do you know who Lieutenant Dan is that's in that reference? Well, I guess, let me go ahead and just give you some information, some background information for this Lieutenant Dan that this dog was named after. So, there was a movie, a fantastic movie, named Forrest Gump, and during this time period of the movie, basically Forrest made friends with this man that went by Lieutenant Dan, or, Dan, and they were in the Vietnam War, and at some point, Lieutenant Dan loses his legs in an explosion. Terrible kind of thing, and for a very long period of time, he was extremely bitter and disillusioned and just couldn't get over the fact that both of his legs had to be amputated. And that's actually something really hard to get over. I can't imagine. But, well, let's say that Lieutenant Dan was named after this Lieutenant Dan because of him missing some legs and also his tail. And this is kind of sad. He actually didn't lose it to an accident, though. Lieutenant Dan the dog was born with a defect, and about 6 months into his life, he had to have his tail and his back legs amputated. And the funny thing is that this dog did not let it get in his way, because there are tons of little videos of him, like, hopping around in, without his wheelchair. He does have a wheelchair. But he's hopping around and just, you could see a big doggy smile on his face, and he's just so happy with the world. And I imagine that's actually something that really won the judges over, actually. Just how he is an inspiration and shows a lot of... It makes people very compassionate of him. And in an article, like, they described Lieutenant Dan as like a very passionate dog. I'm not sure how you can measure passion in a dog, or even in a cat for that matter. But they called him passionate, and I will trust what they have to say about that. And I will say that Lieutenant Dan does look cute in his wheelchair. It's kind of like a little carriage, actually. And also the pink bunny ears that they put on him for the picture. So I can't get over it. Lieutenant Dan probably was a good choice, but Egbert was who I wanted. But unfortunately, you can't always get what you want, Sam. You can't. But, this makes me think that maybe next year we'll probably see more of these competitions, because actually Lieutenant Dan wasn't the first winner of this competition. It was actually not a pit bull, an English bulldog who had won last year, 2019. So 2020 we have Lieutenant Dan, who will be the 2021 Easter egg bunny for Cadbury. That's a lot to think about, right? And I might just try to throw my hat into this bunch and see how many pets could you put into this contest. Because we have Cookie, who has a pretty good story that I've, mentioned a few times. Maybe I don't think I've mentioned the entire story of Cookie. But she could be a very good mascot, I think. And then Eisen, well, he's just a special cat, and he's adorable. That's probably me being blinded by love, but he is actually adorable and he's a Manx, which I had mentioned before in the last episode. I think that he would probably be also very adorable clucking, just like Egbert could have been. But again, Sam, you can't get what you always want. So then there's also Regina, who would probably eat bunny ears, the ones that you would put on the headband. And I don't think that would be a very pleasant thing to see, because she's still a puppy. She still likes ripping stuff up and, running around. She does zoom a lot. She has the zoomies, and that just kind of is very precious. But again, I don't know if she would be willing to be a part of this contest, because she's just so hyperactive right now. And for the commercial making of this animal that they're always asking, having calls for, well, I would expect that they want a calm dog that is able to take direction very well. I mean, Regina can take great direction, but it's the calmness that really just causes the problem. And we're hoping that she grows out of that. And honestly, Cookie is pretty loud too. She can get a little nasty when people touch her the wrong way. For, and they're for good reasons. I guess maybe Eisen, he could be the next Egbert. And I don't know. I relate to Eisen and Egbert, and I'm just thinking of Egbert now in a Easter egg basket, and he's just clucking and, not clucking. Yeah, clucking to just this commercial, and it's just adorable. And I can't help but wonder how Eisen would look like in an Easter egg basket now. Hopefully my husband will not hear this episode, because I think I'm going to order a basket for Eisen and just kind of carry him around, see how he takes it. But I have to say that out of all of the pets that I've seen, it's, especially for this competition, there was a llama, let's see, two cats. One was a Lunchbox, and he was a very big cat, like over 20 pounds, who was actually a fan favorite. But he didn't win, of course. but he did get his opportunity to be adopted after the entire contest. Let's see, I mentioned a llama. There was a hamster too that was just, I'm not really much of a hamster person. I have a really unfortunate hamster story that I'd rather not get into. But of course, there are a ton of weird stories that you can't really get into because they're so traumatizing. But there was also a pig and something that looked like a donkey. And that donkey, I'm going to stick with it, that donkey was named Ricky Bobby. So, again, Egbert was the true winner here because, well, he won my heart. But not as, did not win my heart exactly easily because, well, I still have my cat that I totally relate to. The not lack of care, but the indifference to the world. And that might be very hard for a commercial, actually. Still, I think that Egbert's would have been wonderful, but whatever. Now, the really cool thing about this competition was that the owners, the humans, actually got to take home about $5,000 as a prize. And, what do you do with $5,000? You probably go to Chewy.com and and you spend all of it on your lovely, lovely pets. But hey, that's just me. Again, don't tell my husband because, well, he would say that was very irresponsible. And they have enough toys, Sam. But we are going to go on a commercial break. And when we get back, we will start talking about the Taco Bell dog who just mysteriously disappeared from our commercials for such a long time. And I always wonder, whatever happened to him? Actually, him is a she. And I really hope that I can definitely tell you guys about this dog and just the complexities of this dog, because there was a lot of complexity to this dog, unfortunately. But man, now that I think about it, would this Taco Bell dog have done well in this Cadbury contest? I guess we'll never know. So we will be back after the commercial break.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And welcome back. We just talked about Lieutenant Dan and how he stole the crown of the Cadbury Easter Egg Bunny title from Egbert. Yes, Egbert deserved it. But Lieutenant Dan did kind of steal the show because of his wheels. I don't know, wheels just gets everyone's attention. But I need to get over this. We need to get over this with Egbert. I don't know how many people actually supported Egbert, but I will say that I know that there are people that might have fan clubs for Egbert. No, I don't have one. I promise. Now, we are going to talk about another very well-known mascot, and you might know him as the Taco Bell Chihuahua, maybe? Well, the Chihuahua was actually named Gidget, and Gidget was actually a girl. and on top of that, she was voiced by Carlos Alazraqui, and this guy basically made a cross between Hungarian-born actor Peter Lorre from The Maltese Falcon, Ren from Ren and Stimpy, and a touch of Anthony Quinn, which I have no idea who he is. But, you know, shame on me for being young, I guess. And just the voice, the image of the Chihuahua, well, you know, the Chihuahua is kind of associated with Mexico for some reason. So, you know, they were just playing on a lot of stuff to make people remember, well, Taco Bell, that's a taco place, and, oh, you remember that Chihuahua? I love that Chihuahua. So, and, you know, one of the most popular phrases that my childhood had, and I remember I was always muttering it under my breath, it's, yo quiero Taco Bell. And just all the time I can remember in the commercials, someone would look down at Gidget, and she would say it, or he would say it, and it was just kind of cute. But the problem with Gidget and the campaign was that it was actually accused of Gidget being a cultural stereotype, because there were some commercials that depicted her as a bandito with a sombrero, and then also there were times when she was depicted as a revolutionary wearing a beret. And, well, a civil rights leader then called for like a boycott of Taco Bell because, well, it's offensive, you know, to some people. It's, you know, it's not right to, you know, use these stereotypes to, well, for your own gain, and ever, honestly. But the Chihuahua ads unfortunately ended in 2000, and I think that was like a 2-year run of Gidget on television. But Gidget's journey did not end at at those commercials. She actually appeared in a 2002 Geico commercial, and I remember it quite clearly, with like a hall with all kinds of mascots that we already know, just kind of sitting and preparing for their auditions, and Gidget is sitting quietly, and then the gecko walks right by her and starts talking to someone, another mascot, and, well, Gidget says, great, a talking gecko, because, well, we know Geico, gecko, sounds alike, and it's another good play on words. But that was actually the end of... Yeah, wait, you know, actually, I'm pretty sure that Gidget was also the mother Chihuahua of Bruiser in a sequel to Legally Blonde. So there's that, you know. And I haven't seen that movie. I don't know if I want to, but now that I know that, I might give it a chance. But after all this, she actually passed away in 2009. But if you actually Google Gidget, you'll see that she has like a lasting impact on people who produce Gidget-like products and t-shirts, mugs, and so much more. I mean, I probably will take part in the buying of these materials in the future, because, well, shopping is all I can do right now for fun, shopping online, because I can't go around a mall, I can't go to a department store, or any of those little boutiques that my area of the States definitely has. But, I mean, Gidget, well, the Taco Bell Chihuahua, as I had known her for a very long time, was just something that made me like dogs even more. And at the time, I was like 8, 9, 10, around that age. And I just didn't, at that point in my life, I wasn't really concerned with stereotypes and cultural appropriation or anything like that. And I'm not going to get into that stuff. This is not the podcast for it. But I do think that Gidget really made things amazing for Taco Bell for a period of time. But then the stocks for the company started going down by like, I think 6%. And then just things started changing. Well, we know what Taco Bell is now. I'm not bashing Taco Bell, but maybe they made the wrong decision of getting rid of Gidget. I mean, kind of makes sense. Gidget goes away, you lose money. You gotta think of it in a very special way, though, because there are tons of other factors in that. But, man, as an adult now, I definitely see the cultural stereotypes that are going on with this little commercial, and I imagine that people would be so much more vocal these days about the stereotyping. Not because people are more upset about it now, but it's mostly because we have the internet now that people can just scream into nothingness, and then it'll reach somebody, and then they start screaming into another direction, and so on and so forth. This, information has really changed how we respond to different commercials, and, for instance, there was a Walmart Christmas holiday sweater that had to be taken down because of, references to illicit drugs. So, I mean, if nobody was there to see that sweater and they only heard, stories about it, well, then you're not really going to know about it. You're not going to be talking about it with anyone unless somebody comes over and talks to you about it. I imagine that Gidget probably would have been falling into that area. But speaking of that sweater, I know a ton of people that are desperately searching for that sweater now. And I am quite sure it'll be maybe a few $1,000 to get it from someone else. I don't know. People are crazy when it comes to all this kind of stuff. And I always wonder, what did Gidget leave behind? I mean, the commercials, yeah, sure. Those are nice. But, maybe the plushes? I remember seeing plushes for Gidget. But again, it's been so long. How long has it been? 20 years. Oh my gosh, you guys can do further math on my age. No, I don't care. Just kidding. But that's a really long time ago. Gosh. I imagine that people are gonna listen to this podcast, especially the younger generations, and be like, who is Gidget? Why did people have a Chihuahua, basically a breed associated with Mexico, and just parade them around on commercials and just seem offensive? Well, that is the world today, and word gets around much faster than it did even in the last 20 years. But, anyway, we are going to be reaching a break now, and, well, we are going to be starting to talk about the Target dog. Yes, the Target dog. Quiz time. Do you know what the Target dog's name is? Well, I guess we will find out after this commercial break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back. And let's see, we were talking about Gidget, the Taco Bell Chihuahua, and we were talking about, was it Egbert? No, not Egbert. It was Lieutenant Dan, and, again, I'll say that Egbert deserved everything that I wanted Egbert to get. And, okay, you know what? I need to move on. Let's move on to the Target dog. And Target dog, I already asked you guys, well, what was that name? Give you a second. 2, 1. So, that was not a second, that was 3 seconds, by the way. So, the Target dog is actually named Bullseye. But the original dog, the very first Target dog, was actually named Spot, and I guess they changed his name to Bullseye, which okay, that's fine. Probably some identity issues, but that's okay. But Bullseye was a bull terrier, a miniature bull terrier, and unlike Gidget, well, Bullseye has had a very nice long career. I mean, debuted 1999 around the same time as Gidget, and well, one of the things that, I kind of had an issue with when I was first reading about Bullseye was that Target had painted their logo onto his left eye, well, over his left eye. But then I read even more that it was non-toxic, it was a pet-friendly paint, and the Humane Society actually approved of it. And one thing that I wanted to add was that this paint was veggie-based, and I'd really like to see this. I'm going to probably research just veggie-based paint and see what happens there. But he was extremely popular in this first campaign. But let's see. Because of the success of this ad campaign, Bullseye started getting involved in print and websites and direct marketing, for instance the Target gift card. Because of all this, Bullseye became a value ambassador. So maybe we're all familiar with this, but the See, Spot, Save, ha ha ha. Instead of See, Spot, Run. Oh, come on. I imagine that there are a bunch of eye rolls right now and sighs, but you know what? I think it's funny. Anyway, so Bullseye's popularity has only grown over the years, and to make sure he can RSVP yes to every invitation he gets, they actually have multiple dogs that I guess they're calling Bullseye. So now there are multiple identity problems. And let's see. Actually, 6. So a total of 7 identity crises. And that's fine. There's also 2 additional dogs that are training to be Bullseye. So 9. And they'll train for about 6 months before they make their first appearance in any of the commercials, any of the marketing that they do. Just because, well, you don't want an untrained dog to run amok in a studio like that. And as a dog of many talents, Bullseye pops up on social media too. There's 150k mentions, and it keeps on going, of hashtag Target dog on Instagram alone, which is pretty nifty. This is actually some Target dog, or Bullseye. I need to call him by Bullseye because that is his name, or I should call him Spot, whatever. But basically, I'm about to say Target dog again. Bullseye really made me want a miniature bull terrier, and I'm not really sure why it was so appealing to me. It was a strange looking dog, maybe because I felt like I was a strange looking person, that I was really happy to see, some representation of weird looking dogs and stuff. But either way, I think one of our neighbors has the bull terrier, and I've seen them walking around, and I think it's pretty cool. It's a very nice, calm dog. It looks exactly like Bullseye, which is pretty cool. And I want to verify something that maybe my memory is playing tricks on me. Let's see. There's a bunch of bull terrier masks that, are fine, but I could have sworn... No, it wasn't. No. It was another type of terrier. I was thinking of The Mask with Jim Carrey in it, and there is no bull terrier, just maybe a rat terrier or something like that. But either way, I anticipated like a bull terrier like being in a movie or something like that. I guess I was wrong, but don't worry, I can be wrong. I'll admit it. But I would say that Bullseye, not just Target Dog, I think they'll have a very long career, especially with how they're training these dogs up, and there seems to be no stopping until we have a dog with, multiple dogs, like maybe 30 dogs, with a huge identity crisis. I'm so hung up on that, like how I'm hung up on Egbert. But, moving on from Egbert. I need to move on. But, I would love to see Bullseye in maybe like a movie, and just a completely silent movie where Bullseye's just walking around Target or something, because let's face it, everyone gets lost in Target. They lose any sense of time, any sense of reasonableness for their shopping. One time I went into Target with just sole purpose of getting light bulbs, for instance, and then I ended up with, let's see, a sweatshirt, some new shoes, and a birthday card. I can't remember whose birthday it was, but yeah, that's the trick of Target. And I think that, if you guys want to contact me about a great opportunity to write a script for Bullseye, walking around in Target, I can imagine a lot of things that could happen. I mean, I've watched enough Benji to know what can happen. So, man, let's see. Maybe Bullseye goes and finds somebody that's stealing something. But the problem is that Bullseye's not allowed outside of Target. What does Bullseye do? Is he going to be like Lassie and get the security guards? Or maybe the cashiers? I really don't know. I am just spitballing right here, and I'm hoping that, eventually with Bullseye's popularity, that something will come. Or, maybe one of his other incarnations can maybe show up and do little acting for everyone. I mean, I guess this is something that I can fixate on instead of Egbert, don't you think? I don't know. I'm more partial to cats. And just Bullseye is cute. I'll go ahead and say that. I find bull terriers very cute. But I just don't know. I can't replace Egbert. Just like how I can't replace Eisen. So hopefully, maybe with time, I will replace Egbert with Bullseye. Maybe. I have dreams, But that is the end of this segment. And we are going to be moving on to a dog that I kind of forgot about, but also have fond memories of. And he is the mascot for the Bush's Beans. And I remember having Bush's Beans for like part of dinner or something. But I mostly remember the commercials and how goofy they were. I especially wanted to have a dog like Duke, but, with me saying, oh man, I wish I had a dog like Lieutenant Dan. I wish I had a dog like Gidget. Oh, and I also wanted a dog just like, not Target Dog. Oh, Bullseye. And now I'm saying, oh, I want a dog like this Bush's dog. Well, again, Sam, I'm going to remind you that you can't always get what you want. and I'll ignore the rest of the lyrics on that. But we are going to go to a commercial break, and we will talk about the Bush's dog.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then, the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
Well, we've talked about Egbert. No, I don't mean Lieutenant Dan. Who's Lieutenant Dan? You mean Forrest Gump, Lieutenant Dan? No. Okay. I will say Lieutenant Dan. We talked about him and his adorable little wheelchair. We've talked about Gidget, the Taco Bell Chihuahua. And we just talked about Target Dog. What was that dog's name? Oh, yeah. Spot, right? No. I'm sorry. It's actually Bullseye. So, anyway, we're going to talk about something that hopefully brings some normalcy to this entire pet mascot thing. And, well, it's Duke the dog, and he is a mascot for the Bush's Baked Beans. And if you go into the grocery store, you'll see like a bunch of them. Well, at normal times, probably beyond the pandemic, before and after, we're gonna see a lot of, Bush baked beans on the shelves again, maybe. But I think that this one is going to be normal. I'm crossing my fingers for this. So we have Duke, or actually his, another name. So his real name is Ducetto, but he goes by Duke. And when the owner, like the family representative, was starting to get ready to go onto those commercials, he was actually kind of nervous, and he turned to Duke, or Ducetto, for, comfort. The best comfort in the world is when your pet just comes to you, and they just kind of feel how nervous you're feeling. They just cuddle you, and everything seems better. Well, yeah, I imagine he was doing that. But in a meeting, and I doubt that Duke was in it, but they were trying to discuss ways to include Duke into the commercials, and this was around 1996 where they're starting this. And someone at the table, total anecdote though, someone at the table suggested to Jay Bush that, well, maybe he could tell Duke the secret family recipe for the beans, and I don't know. It's kind of like you're taking a straw and shooting spitballs at the wall, and you're kind of thinking, will this one stick next? And you're just keeping at it until eventually something sticks. I think that was what was going on. They thought it was a very silly kind of thing, but silly always kind of wins out in commercials for sure. For instance, the walrus in the Geico commercial with playing hockey, Duke, it was Duncan the walrus, and he was playing goalie. Anyway, silly, people love it. I was tickled. But they ran with the idea of the owner telling Duke the recipe. Now they added a little bit of a twist to it, and basically in these commercials, Jay would talk about the beans and how good they are, and then you turn around and you see Duke, trying to give up the family recipe. Many, many times, actually. One that I remember was at a kind of a state fair kind of deal, And again, Jay is talking about how great the beans are and there's a bunch of people that are impressed by it and they want to know, oh, how do you do this? Well, turn around and you see Duke playing auctioneer, basically. And I just kind of, I don't know. It's him trying to give up the recipe, making money out of it, which is bizarre for a dog. You always think man's best friend and loyal. But that is not the only thing that bothers me here. It's Duke's mouth at this point in his career, or at least the mascot's career. And animals with computer animated mouths and stuff, and they're talking, especially in like commercials where there isn't as much budget going into it, it just freaks me out. I don't know. And they did a lot of those commercials with the CGI mouth and stuff. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, like think of the live action Scooby-Doo movie where Scrappy ends up being the biggest jerk in the world and he wants to take over the world. Anyway, that kind of mouth where it's moving and it's like almost like a human's mouth. I need to get that out of my head. We're just going to think of Duke as the nice golden retriever who would have like words spoken for him, and he would just smile happily, like the pets in Homeward Bound, right? But the real Duke was not even in these commercials, so I can be glad that real Duke is perfectly fine. He is untouched by this scary little thing that bothers me a lot. But he wasn't a fan of being in the spotlight, and they had to go and get a lookalike of Duke and train him. So basically a professionally trained actor taking over Duke's role. And, I mean, just kind of goes into this cycle of, oh, the freaky mouth thing, I can't handle it. But it's like 17 years later or so. We'll just say 2 decades now. And, well, Bush still uses a talking Duke in their commercials, which is, again, it's fine. But it just kind of makes me think of how awful CGI can be sometimes. And I'm trying to be on my best behavior when it comes to talking about animals that are talking. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with Polly. Like, Polly was a parrot. You can expect some kind of talking out of him. That was more natural for it. But Polly was a weird, was a movie, and it was fiction. So I can definitely say that I don't associate Polly with the gross, CGI moving mouth stuff. But again, Duke and Bush's baked beans is, is a part of kind of my childhood. Oh my gosh, wow. Huh. I'm not going to add any more hints to my age. But out of all of them right now, and we still have one more that we're going to go over, I'd have to say, out of all of them, which one is my favorite? Well, Egbert is my favorite, but, apparently he doesn't count. So I would guess, Gidget. Gidget right now is my favorite. So, if you want to give me a Gidget plush of some kind, or buy me Taco Bell, for when I really hate myself, yeah, you could definitely do that for me. I'd be totally happy about that. But now, we are going to be moving on to our next commercial break, and about this rescue dog that ended up being a part of the Budweiser family. And this is so strange. I have never heard of this dog before. And you would think that with all the commercials that Budweiser comes out, all the marketing that they do, you would think that the dog would show up. And even if someone doesn't have cable, we have the internet. Like, YouTube has an unbearable amount of ads going in it, and same thing with Spotify. And I'm sorry, I'm trying not to be frustrating, but that's definitely something that I think about. Like, there's so many ads. Why in the world has this little rescue not been covered very much? But I will say, the name of this dog is Wego, and I am familiar with the marketing campaign of Wego, as in like we as a group of people go. And it's just kind of like keeping people together and having a Bud Light or something like that. And I'll say that if Wego is the genius marketing that Bud Light has, then I'll totally understand, and I'll have background information on these other Wego commercials that they put out. But for now, I am very hesitant about it. I'll go ahead and say that. Now, I'm going to let you guys go for this commercial break, and we will talk in a bit.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
So, I have talked about a number of pets that have developed a nice history for themselves. And then, after doing a little bit of research during our break, I found out that Wego, that's his only commercial that he's ever had. And that kind of bums me out. Well, let's talk about Wego. Now, Wego, and there's not much information on him, apparently. Wego is a terrier. He's a rescue dog that Budweiser, found. And they were charmed by him, and the trainer that he was living with was very skilled, taught him all kinds of tricks and ways to be obedient and all the nice stuff you like to see about dogs. So, Wego was actually very lucky in that sense. And he got a part for Budweiser, and it's probably one of the best dog commercials for a beer company that I've ever seen. And basically, he responds to Wego, or here we go, and he just brings a bottle of Bud Light to these people, and it's an entire commercial of him just doing that. And, it's cute. It doesn't... Wego looks like he's enjoying himself, and he's very well trained, and it seems like the people that he was working with were very friendly. And, well, it could just be his training showing that he's a really good dog, but, we don't know what's going on in anyone's head during that time. But, he could obviously fetch, and he could also balance himself on a keg that was on its side. Because, well, in this commercial, there's a party going on at somebody's house. Someone's very nice house. And just a bunch of people come in all at once towards the end of the commercial, and Wego's like, oh my gosh. And then he returns with a keg. Which is cute, just seeing him balance, and it further bums me out that I can't really find anything about Wego. And I really want to give you guys more information, but, they have a Facebook page for WeGo, and basically it was for bringing awareness to help rescue dogs and to also get, obviously, traffic to Budweiser. So, or more specifically, Bud White. I can't talk. Bud Light. Maybe I should talk about bugs later. We'll see what happens. So, for every like that WeGo received, Bud Light would actually donate $1 to an animal rescue foundation. And it was like up to $250,000, which is a pretty penny for a rescue foundation. So I can accept that. WeGo was used in a way that helped his fellow pets. But he had a lot of natural talents, and he was a very skillful dog, and he was just kind of like a prop for Budweiser, and that sounds really sad. And gosh, I mean, WeGo is a cute dog, and there's a weird thing about WeGo when you look at him. Definitely pull up a picture of WeGo, and there's something cute, but also kind of unnerving about this dog, and I feel so bad for laughing at it, but that was definitely something that I noticed there. Like, he's just a weird little dog, but it doesn't discount how good the commercial was. And I mean, Budweiser and Bud Light are really good at marketing and just making people laugh at their commercials, which is definitely a really good thing. But I want more WeGo. He obviously is talented, and this is almost like egg work for me, okay? WeGo deserves more, and I'm going to demand that we have a petition. No, that's a bit much. But maybe just going to WeGo's Facebook page, maybe they still have it open. I'm not going to check. I might be disappointed. But, go to WeGo's Facebook page or start Googling WeGo, finding more information about him, because this is just ridiculous. He deserves more. And just in my mind, it's like, well, it looks like Bud Light just kind of got this dog and they used him to their maximum ability and just let him retire. And I mean, that's also a good thing. Dogs can retire. And, I have to back up. Maybe he wanted to retire. He lived a very difficult life, I'm assuming, because he was found in a rescue. And maybe he just wanted to relax for the rest of his days. But still, they could have given us information about WeGo retiring. It's just like he just kind of fell off the map for good. Until, well, just a random article that I ran into that was listing different mascots for this podcast, honestly. And gosh, WeGo deserves more. He really does. I keep on looking at this one article for WeGo that has the most information about him. It's on mediapost.com. And he was a canine star, that's what they claim. But it's like one of those one-hit wonders. Like 99 Red Balloons or something like that. It's great that Budweiser, Bud Light managed to get a dog that wasn't pedigree, that, was a mutt and a rescue. It's really great that they did that. And I also appreciate that they were creating awareness for dog rescues and, adopt a shop kind of deals, but I just don't know. I'm very frustrated and very confused right now because I wish that there was more for WeGo, but I'm also thinking he deserves to retire nice and nice and easy now. But freaking, I wish that we knew more about Wego. I mean, I was extremely charmed by his performance on the commercial. It just made me want more. And I looked at other commercials for Bud Light, and they had different dogs. Why couldn't they have used Wego for that? I don't know. Wego has become my second Egbert, which is really sad. But, I mean, just, there's nothing about him. I just don't know. I wish that we could learn more about this dog and how fascinating he is and just his story. Because stories of rescues are very interesting. And they're very eye-opening about how humans could be and how humans should not be. And I want to know more. Oh my gosh, this is going to drive me crazy. So maybe I should move on to something else now. And, well, I guess it kind of goes into, like, what humans do with dogs and, or cats, for instance. And it's basically, I'm just going to call it, can I pet your dog? Or can I pet them? We'll do that. So, I know that for a lot of dog owners, they go through people asking if they can pet their dog, or even worse, not petting and not asking for permission. That's something that really bothered me when we had Rhodey, actually. And back to Wego. I don't even think that he was pet very much in that commercial. I think only one guy, and that was the guy that supposedly, acted as his owner. But nobody ever really thanked Wego, and I'm very upset about this again. But anyway, we're going to move on. We need to move on. We don't need another Egbert. We are going to talk about what I just said, and can I pet your pet, basically. So, we are going to have one more commercial break, and I will be chatting about that.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
So, we have talked about our pet mascots, which include Egbert, and, no, I'm not saying the other dog's name, I'm not saying it. Fine, Lieutenant Dan. Then we have also talked about Gidget the Chihuahua, we've talked about Bullseye/Spot, the Bull Terrier, and we have also talked about Duke, the Baked Beans dog, and then finally, Wego, the dog that deserved so much more. So, that's a very frustrating topic for me, and I really just want it to be pushed under a rug and, out of sight, out of mind, right? So, let's move on. I'm going to say this as calmly as possible. Actually, I can't. This part of what I'm about to talk to you about, I don't know if I can handle it, but I'll give it a try. Well, my first question for you is, can I pet your dog? I would love to pet your dog. But do you want me to pet your dog? That's a good beginning, right? Well, here's the thing. we've had this problem, and I've witnessed this so many times, where people just walk up to a pet, typically your dog, and they just lean over and start petting your dog without asking you. I don't understand. Maybe it's just a compulsion that people have, like they just kind of want to touch a dog or touch a cat. I mean, I can understand. I have this thing for me where I like touching things. I'm a very tactile person. And, well, lately, this pandemic has been causing a lot of changes in behavior for me. So I can't touch as much as I can, so I go home and I am unbearable with my 3 pets. But they maximize all the petting time that I need, all the touching time that I need, and I'm good. But people don't always have that. So they, you know what they do have? Common sense. So I have a story. I went to Chicago for my friend's bachelorette party. And it was like one of the last days, and I decided to stand outside and wait for them to come back with some beverages. And while I was waiting on this sidewalk, I saw at the very corner of my eye a woman that had the most adorable French bulldog. Golden fur, little white spot on the, on its belly, that kind of stuff. So cute. Well, you would think it would be just a very short interaction, just her walking by me. But here's the problem. That dog was way too cute. When I say way too cute, I mean that every 3 feet that this woman went, someone would stop her and pet her dog. And they would ask, "Oh, what's his name? He's so cute." And she would have that conversation every 3 friggin' feet. And it would take maybe about 2 to 3 minutes to, have the petting done and over with, though there was a lot of people that really stopped to pet the dog like a really good pet. But every 3 feet it would happen. And I started to feel really bad for this woman because people have places to go to. It's not all about the dog. It's not all about you. So I felt bad for her. And finally, when she was past me by about 6 feet, this group of girls, there's 4 girls in this group, so it's very overwhelming, and they're swarming this poor little French bulldog, and also the poor woman that's just trying to get where she needs to go, they keep on petting, and they're gushing over him, and these girls are probably early 20s, something like that. And then this woman that I feel, a very powerful connection with, actually. A woman, just cuts through the group of girls, and as she's walking, she basically just kind of says out into the ether, "He doesn't want to be pet by you." So, the girls didn't hear it, but I heard it, and I just felt that. And I felt like the woman that had that French bulldog just, needed to hear that too. Because, well, it also kind of falls on the pet owners to even consent to it, and honestly consent to it. Because, if you decide to say, yes, you can pet my dog, and you realize, and the dog isn't really, wanting to be pet, and you know that, but you don't want to seem like a jerk, I mean, that's kind of on you. And a huge part of this is, for everyone in this situation, is to read body language. You read the dog's body language, you read the cat's body language. Let's see, you can definitely read the owner's body language, and the people that are walking by, well, I don't know about you, but they just need to back off. I really think so. Again, realizing that it's not just about the dog, and it's not just about you. It's probably, this woman was walking, she finally got a break from her day, and she just was like, "You would be nice? let's go on a walk, buddy. Let's go around the, the main street, and we can really enjoy, this nice walk. It's a beautiful day, all that kind of stuff. And then it's just interrupted every 3 feet. Come on, guys. Pet owners have lives too. And it doesn't always revolve around their pets, though I will say it almost does. But, it goes not just for dogs, it also goes for cats. And, well, Eisen in particular, I totally understand this cat. Not as much as my husband does, but, we both have a pretty good understanding of Eisen. And when Eisen doesn't want to be pet, he will make it quite clear. If he runs away, if people he doesn't know comes into the house, he's gonna run and hide, because he doesn't know them. They smell strange, and, why would he want that strange smell on his beautiful coat? So, it just kind of goes to show that there needs to be a lot more awareness, and even if someone even if someone doesn't ask to pet your dog and they just lean over and start petting them, it's wait, stop! Just stop. It's one, that person's need to use some common sense and common courtesy. And then it's the pet owner's need to speak up. And, well, doggo can't really do anything about it. They just will, relish in the pets and be happy, which is very nice. But, I just don't think that it's fair to anyone that, well, I don't think it's fair to the woman at all that was happening to her. It's great that French Bulldog got all that attention, though, but, at what cost? Mom's probably be really irritated when she gets home. Anyway, I keep on thinking about Rhodey, our last dog, and I probably have kept on saying our last dog for a while. I'm still struggling to get over him. But, when we took him out, he was a very anxious boy. But he always wanted to sound like a big boy. He had that big bay, and he was a hound, a whippet mix. And just whenever he was outside, he was always, on edge, because he's just a nervous dog. And I just, he didn't seem like the best dog to even let people pet, pretty much. Because, well, it just depended on his body language. If he was wagging his tail and just kind of walking over to you, fine. But for the most part, he was baying at our neighbors, all 3 years that we lived in our last place. I mean, come on. You don't want to pet a dog like that. Sorry, Rhodey, rest in peace. But, you don't approach dogs that don't want to be approached. You don't want to approach a cat that doesn't want to be approached. Now, if you have goldfish, I mean, go right ahead and, approach them, feed them. You can't really pet them unless you take them out of the bowl, and then you have to think, well, does this animal deserve to be treated this way? Anyway, that's just a huge thing for me. Just ask, read body language, and then back off. That's all I gotta say about that. And, I was hoping that I could just calm down with this final part. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't even know why I decided to start talking about, petting dogs and stuff, because it is a really hot button for me. And I just need to calm down. Maybe I can go upstairs and, just pet at some animals. Maybe pet Eisen, who is currently sleeping in our laundry basket still. And, just be grateful that you guys decided to stop in and listen. So, I gotta say, thank you for listening to us at the GSMC Pets Podcast. And, again, this was brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Well, please remember to subscribe to our show and write a nice review. I love reviews, and everyone loves reviews, actually. And that actually really helps us, too. We want to get better. We want to entertain you more. And I just would also like it if you followed us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're everywhere. And I'll go ahead and say I'm due to post a picture of one of my pets pretty soon. So that'll probably be on Instagram, and maybe a picture of Regina, because Regina seems to be a favorite here. But anyway, thank you, and I want you guys to have a wonderful night. Peace out.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.